I should say that our original repellent and our summer camp repellent and our dog repellent all have ingredients that repel ticks. But we really were hearing a lot from people who had Lyme disease and were very, very concerned with deer ticks in Connecticut. And we wanted to have a product that was specifically designed to be long-lasting and really, really targeted against ticks, because we found that people needed that in addition to an all-purpose repellent. So we went about that one a little bit differently. I began with, looking at studies on all the permitted ingredients and to see what really worked. And then we put together our best guess of what would work based on those studies and sent it to a lab for testing. And we found that it repelled 92% of deer ticks. We were very pleased with that, and it works terrifically well. But I just wanted to say that when we first started that first summer, we really had thought that we'd be sitting at a farmer's market on Wednesdays. And we quite unexpectedly sold 1,800 bottles in our town of 18,000 people. Because it works. It works really well.
In the first farmer's market?
No, we never got to the farmer's market. We never actually made it there.
So even just put this in context. So you guys are both attorneys, and you have this common problem of no good natural insect repellent, and you've kind of taken your idea that's been homespun, and now you're starting to introduce it to your local community. That's incredible.
Well, we ended up never going to a farmer's market because 25 local stores took us, and we.
Well, the first year actually it was 10 stores that first year, and you were in Canada, so I don't know if you got the brunt of this, but people kept saying, "Have you seen Shark Tank?" And I kept saying, "Well, I should tell you, my business partner doesn't have a TV." And do you have a business plan? And I thought, I don't know what that is, because that wasn't really, we weren't coming at this as a business. We were coming at this to solve a problem.
Yeah. So you're not chemists, you're not entomologists or business people.
But you say that, but Nancy's a Renaissance woman.
A Renaissance, okay.
Yeah, and so she is a chemist.
Yeah.
I'm a obsessive researcher about anything that anything I have a problem with. I try to look for solutions, and that's what I just do that.
Very cool, very cool. So you're starting to sell it to these local retailers. So you're never actually start attending the farmers markets.
I never made it.
Never made it. What was the next step? You had to learn how to package them. You had to learn how to distribute them.
Well, just to sort of give you a sense of sort of the mindset, I said to Nancy, I'm not allowed to spend in my house more than $200 without checking with my spouse. Uh-huh. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
And I said to Nancy, we have to make a beautiful label. And she said, Jeff, there's something called Adobe Illustrator. They have a free 30-day subscription. We've got 30 days to be experts.
So we did our own label and logo.
And that's right.
So we figured it out step by step. And we, our first thing was we'd walk around stores and go, how does all this stuff get in stores? How do you go from your kitchen? And by this point, my husband had moved us into the garage because the kitchen was smelling an awful lot like bug spray most of the time.
So it was all being made in the kitchen.
This was in the first year.
The first 1,500 bottles were in the kitchen. The second year,
we had the shortest lived workforce. We hired kids who would each work for us for one day before never coming back.
And it looked, I'm sure it probably isn't zoned right. It started to look like a meth lab with all the kids mixing and putting labels on. And so we quickly moved to a factory.
So we have a local factory in Norwalk that makes our products by contract, and they've been terrific to deal with. And it's nice that we can make everything local.
That's great. How did you learn of how to go into the retail stores, of who to talk to?
This is Jeffrey's gift.
The two things. The first thing that I said is people would ask, have you seen Shark Tank? The second thing is people kept saying, do you have a business plan? And I thought, I don't even know what a business plan is, but if my dad were alive, he'd want me to have one of those, whatever that is. Yeah. And I was on the SBA website, and I was typing business plan, and they have one, and I was sort of making one like theirs. And a little window popped up, said, would you like a mentor? And I said, if you're free and not a computer, I'm in. And SCORE, which there's 400 branches around the country, they contacted me the next day, and we met with them. And he said, well, what's your plan? Getting into stores and stuff. And I explained what we had done so far. And he said, Barry said, this is impressive. It's hard to get into stores. Mm-hmm. But what's your plan to get into other stores? And I said, well, next spring we'll knock on other doors. He said, stores don't like that. They want to know well in advance what they're going to buy. And so why did it work in your town? I said, well, everybody loves local things. He said, that won't work either. What else you got? Mm-hmm. And I said, well, we have something that works. I just went through it. He helped me identify more clearly what it is that we have and what it is that we can provide. And I then replicated what happened. I just sent stores samples, and I called them and I said, can I send you a freebie sample? And most stores said, you can send me something free. Yes. And I said, I will take no for an answer. Yeah. And I sent it. And most of the stores, once they saw it, and they said, no, this is the type of thing we probably would want. So we sent out maybe 170 samples, mm-hmm. and 130 stores suddenly had said, yeah, we're probably going to carry it. By year 2, we were suddenly in a business.
Wow. And what year was this? Like, how long ago was this?
This was 2014.
Oh, okay.
And then since then, we had this wonderful man knock on our door who's a hardware rep, one of the last of the traditional hardware reps. Mm-hmm. And he said, you're in all my stores. Can I rep your product? And he works 7 days a week, Bill Dorico. He works so hard. And he's done an amazing job taking us around to most of the Connecticut hardware stores, Rhode Island as well.
And as a rep, he's going into each of the stores and servicing them, making sure.
Yeah, he was our first rep, and he's been an amazing person to work with. We're really grateful for Bill. And we then got into the natural market channel as well, and we've really grown. This year we're in about 1,800 stores now, and we're just
in 5 years,
and we're almost we're in the final stages of having a national sales team on the health food side. So we feel really lucky.
My husband keeps saying, I did not see this coming. I did not see this coming.
Jeffrey's husband said he'd believe it was real when we made $5,000.
Yeah.
And he wasn't going to take it seriously
like 3 days in.
Yeah.
Well, it's like we feel like we're kind of looking in the bakery because everything that comes in goes back into the business still. So
good for you guys. That's fantastic. So as you're starting and you have a consumer product that you're putting in all these stores, and now you said 1,800 stores. So what were some of the challenges in turning this from, the almost farmer's market product made in the kitchen to now you have this facility in Norwalk producing it for you? What were some of the challenges in getting to that next level of growth?
Well, first, in light of the fact that neither of us have done anything like that, everything is new. Uh-huh. Everything is new. How to make a label, how to get the label to stick onto the bottle.
How do you send stuff by UPS? Nancy,
I remember
get it out of your garage and into a warehouse.
Conversation where we were sending everything out by postal service, and I said, but why do most businesses do UPS or FedEx or these other services? Mm-hmm. And he said, maybe they're not careful readers. I don't know. Maybe they just didn't do the math. And then we thought, well, everybody's doing it. Maybe there's a deal to be had, and so we had to figure out what the process is. Are there special deals for if you sell enough, distribute enough?
So we feel that we're on the bottom of a learning curve all the time.
All the time.
And that's regulatory learning curve. It's just, how do you
invoice? How do you?
Oh, and the first bunch we sent out, we didn't know they were supposed to put a packing slip in it, and our cases still have 16 units in it because that's what fit in the box we bought, and we didn't realize everyone sells by the dozen. So we're still trying to figure out how do you suddenly do a switcheroo and give people 12 of something when you've been doing 16 of something.
You just call it the Nantucket dozen or something.
The Nantucket dozen, that's a good idea.
So if you could take me through, like, what's the regulatory process, or what have you had to do on the regulatory side for a consumer product?
It's something that people should know if they ever think about doing what we did. We're a regulated business. Mm-hmm. We're regulated by the federal EPA, who exempts certain products if they stick to an ingredient list. But then 40 states step into the breach with their varying rules, and they regulate it themselves.
And they regulate it using the same federal rule,
but they all interpret it differently.
So, for instance, federal rule says you can put in commonly edible herbs. One state says, I don't think that's commonly edible. And another state says, I think so. And
so we had lavender, and Connecticut said you can't eat it, and so it's no longer in our products. And one of the other things, every state has its own rules for the label.
Mm-hmm.
And they all want the same stuff on it, but they might want it on a different place. Some of them want it on the front, or they want it on, in big letters. And one of the states objected to us calling ourselves the official bug spray of summer, which is our trademark, unless we could prove sponsorship. and so the problem is you have these individuals and there's no review and there's no appeal. And if they say it, you can either not sell in that state or take it off your label. So that's been a really big challenge. And one of them looked at our website. Now we've done another label for that state, and they looked at our website and they said, but the pictures on your website are different than the pictures on our label. And we said, well, those are the labels we registered in 35 other states. So it's a very hard thing to navigate. And that I think that was probably one of the biggest challenges we've had.
So with your unique background in being attorneys going into the insect repellent business, do you think that has helped you along, especially when it gets to the regulatory side of things?
It definitely helped us. Certainly at the beginning part, we're able to incorporate ourselves and do our trademarks ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We hired someone to do our patent, who sadly died in the process, and we finished that as well. And that we were very lucky to have our backgrounds for that. We've decided that it's one of the things that we least like is the regulatory stuff. So we have a friend now doing that.
And there's an adage that I'm sure people heard, only a fool has himself as an attorney, or something like that.
I think Jeffrey just made that up. I don't think that was an adage at all. I think that's a new adage.
It sounds very wise.
It sounds wise, it does.
But you don't want to be your own lawyer.
No. But it's just, it's not what we want to spend our time doing. So we now get somebody else to do that.
So you guys want to focus more on the development of the new products?
Nancy loves to invent, and I love to sell.
Yeah.
And Jeffrey loves people, and he connects with people so wonderfully.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to make stuff. And so we don't really want to do that other stuff.
Yeah. So how does that evolution come along? So now you're reaching so many consumers. Is it the original formula was just a winner from the start, or were there certain things, you get the feedback from the regulatory officials, but what about from the consumers? Has that changed or directed anything you guys have done along the way?
I suppose we're small enough that if we hear stuff, people say, hey, do you have something for this or that? We're able to put that in the development pile and go, yeah, that'll be something we'll look at.
Uh-huh.
And one of the things that continues to stymie us is that probably 50 people a year can't figure out how to unlock our trigger sprayers.
It's just
and it
button
says
on the neck.
Push button to unlock along the side.
Yeah.
But if they buy it online, they're, the trigger sprayer is broken. And we just, now we're shipping them, with the trigger spray separately with it unlocked to make sure that people don't return it because they think it's broken. So that it's funny, little things. It's very small things right now. We also had an issue that we're kind of proud of how we solved it. Sometimes the bottles over time would sort of suck in and not look very, very nice. And we ended up doing
even before you say, I don't know if you know what Nancy's talking about, but if you ever look under your refrigerator,
mm-hmm.
under your kitchen cabinet, and you pick up a bottle of something and you think, this bottle's all sucked in. Was I not careful when I bought it? Was I in a hurry?
Yeah.
It turns out most PET bottles suffer one-way evaporation, and they get sucked in over time.
Right. And so we did something unique. We ended up buying a liquid nitrogen dosing machine, which nitrogen is 76% of the air you breathe is nitrogen. And it's an inert gas with bigger molecules than oxygen. And it has been a great thing because for the vendors and consumers, our products stay nice. But more importantly, the oils don't start reacting with oxygen until the product's open. So people can buy something and know that it's fresh. And
it's going to stay fresh.
And it's going to stay. Well, it stays fresh until they start, and then when they start using it, it begins to age. And it's unique in the whole industry, we've learned, because we own the machine ourselves and nobody's used it for that before. That's been a really good thing to invest in. And it
to the consumer, that's something I would never think about.
Right, because essential oils are volatile and they react with oxygen, become less effective over time, diminish. And so people know when they get our stuff that it's going to work and it's going to be what, they can rely on the quality of what's inside it. And then we tell people within a year, you may start seeing the oils change. It doesn't go off, but it's just something you want to keep in mind and replace it after a year, so maintain efficacy. So
yeah, so that seems like a very unique feature to Nantucket Spider products. What is there when you go to the shelf and you're seeing all of these different repellents and everything? Like, how do you differentiate between everything that's up there?
That's such a good question. There are so many flavors of ice cream, and there's so many